and we still have people, our veterans, coming home from the current war and wars before and so on and so forth. This was just a window in time, and just all the more important, I think, to me, because my gosh, so many of our veterans from World War II, there's not many of them left. You know, they're all mostly in their 90s now, and that's the Greatest Generation, Tom Brokaw's book, I think, really tells that story in a perfect way that is relatable to anybody. You know, not that you lived in that time period or even that you had anybody in your family that was in the war, but to read that book, to read these stories, to experience what these guys had to go through, because it was such a different world. I mean, now we have computers and we have phones and we have all these things. These guys didn't come from that. You know that. You know, they didn't come from that. They came from America, and we were just the coolest country in the world at that time, and thrown into this unbelievable battle. And that was just on the B-17s, let alone the battleships, the destroyers, the Pacific Theater, you know, the ground troops, all the stuff that was part of World War II. But it is a fascinating piece of history. And coming up a little after the news here in just a few moments, actually, we're going to talk with Captain Ken Morris, who flew the plane into Washington County Airport, and we'll talk about the flights that are going on through this weekend until at least tomorrow. We'll take a break here. I got an update on the news, and then Captain Ken Morris will be on with us here as we continue. It's Stoney Richards with you live from the center. It's News Radio 1020 KDKA. Stoney Richards here live from the center, News Radio 1020. It's KDKA. Our number's here, 866-391-1020, and the Dollar Bank Instant Access, KDKA.com for your emails. With us on the Disk Institute of Pittsburgh Newsline, I am happy to say, is Captain Ken Morris, who is one of the pilots that flies the B-17 Flying Fortress for EAA Aviation Center, and of course the website b17.org. Captain Morris, nice to have you on the program. Welcome to KDKA.
Thank you, Stoney. It's good to hear from you again. You recovered from your trip the other day?
You know, recovery is a good word, because that was so stunning and that was so exciting. And you guys, you and your whole crew put together such a great outing for everybody that I was just so thrilled. I could have flown home. I got out of there. I was so high. It was so much fun. You guys really have done a wonderful thing with this plane and with this, the people. I wanted to talk to you today because you told us so many great stories on the tarmac on Wednesday, and I was so thankful for that, and we played some of them on the air. What kind of feedback do you get from the folks that come on the plane with you? And you know, since you've been here at the Washington County Airport, what kind of feedback are you getting from the passengers?
Well, I have never had anybody say that it was not worth the money. I know it's an expensive trip. It's an expensive thing to keep in the air, and that reflects in the cost of the tickets, of course.
Sure.
However, everybody that has ever gotten off the thing has just been thrilled to death to have been part of it, and it's infective. It really is. They get off, but they're excited, and then pretty soon I'm excited, and we're all excited.
Well, it was funny. I met a gentleman there Wednesday, and he was there. I said, "Are you flying?" He said, "No, I'm just taking some pictures." And then you were talking. I guess you were doing something for KDKA TV, and I walked over to him and I said, "You're going to get some pictures of the takeoff." He said, "Oh yeah," and he said, "I got a surprise." I said, "What?" He said, "My wife just bought me a ticket on a plane." He said, "My birthday's coming up next week. I'm going to be 70, and I'm going to fly." And I mean, he looked like a 10-year-old kid. He was thrilled. He was just
thrilled. Go already, or is he
I think he said that he was going yesterday. This was Wednesday. I think he said he was going Thursday or Friday. I wasn't sure what day it was, but he got the gift, and he was like, you know, it's like he was just given a Mickey Mantle's baseball. It was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, the whole family came out today, and they sent Grandma off on a flight today.
Oh my.
And it was so cute because there was like 4 generations there, and they were all waving American flags, and in a big line. It was really cute, and it's pretty special. It really is.
Well, it really is. Captain Ken Morris is with us. He's one of the pilots, and you switch off with Meredith Willock as well, and flying from time to time. When you let us walk through the plane, crawl through the plane.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of walking unless you want to bang your head.
Yeah, and seeing the two of you in the cockpit, and it's surreal. It's like this plane is up in the air, and there are those 4 propellers going around, and there you guys are flying us, and then we get to go by that and go into the nose section and see what those, as you said, you stated it so perfectly, the 19-year-old kids sitting in that nose gunner position with the bomb bays open and the bombardier ready to drop the bombs. Really quite something. I got a feeling it never gets boring for you or routine.
It doesn't, and we have to catch ourselves once in a while because it can become routine if we're not careful.
Yeah.
Just because we kind of do the same thing. But the people everywhere we go are so nice, and the veterans we meet and the stories that they have, I wish we had time to talk about them. I really, they're incredible. And it truly is, as Brokaw says, the greatest generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate it myself until I've been on this program. As you know, my wife is the pilot with me, and we talk about it quite often. There's just so many people that have so many memories, and if it wasn't them, a lot of tears. If it wasn't them, it was their uncles or grandfathers or fathers that were doing this.
I just had a call from a young lady who was talking about a relative of hers, and at the end, I could hear her voice breaking up because you just feel and you understand the gravity of that situation and what they went through, and just what a tremendous triumph these airplanes were and what they did in the war.
They were. In 1935, when this airplane was designed, it was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But in a strange sort of way, the advancement that aviation and military weaponry has during a conflict advances to the point where by the end of the war, just 10 years later, it was an obsolete airplane. So that's why there are only 11 left in the world flyable.
You are an aviation enthusiast and a pilot as well of all kinds of planes, as your wife is as well. Is there any bigger thrill, though, than flying the B17 with all the planes that you've flown in your career?
It's the B-17 I put on it's an honor list to be flying that.
Yeah.
The thrills, we try to keep the thrills to a minimum because I don't want to scare especially me or anybody else, but it is an honor to fly it. It was a thrill to fly it at first. My best friend and I got on it together at the same time 4 years ago. And we thought, wow, this is so cool. And at the time, it was kind of about us. We could say they get to fly a B-17, but it quickly becomes more than us. It's the veterans and the stories that we hear, and the education that it does provide, and you are providing on the radio. It's an amazing connection to the past, and I don't think we truly appreciated that back 20 years ago when more of the veterans were alive and could tell the stories, and many of them don't tell the stories until they come out. And there's some kind of a truth serum when they see it and they open up. And I've had daughters and sons and things. They turn to me and say, I didn't. My dad never said any of this before.
Yeah.
So it's very cathartic, I guess, for them.
Well, and the presentation that you and all the crew put together is authentic and real, and you tell you tell the story. So often we see something and you kind of go, you come away with questions. You tell the story. You're historically accurate. The plane ride itself, I was amazed. I got to tell you how smooth that plane flies. I mean, that was really a great ride.
That was probably because my wife, Lorraine, was flying it at the time. And I was just sitting over there minding my own business, and that's why I was smooth.
You're a very smart man.
Yeah, I'm a very smart man. Smarter than I look, that's for sure. No, honestly, it's a big airplane, so it travels in turbulence fairly well. Believe it or not, as big as that tail is, it still wallows around a little bit more than I expected it to in the beginning. It's an honest flying airplane, but it's a very heavy airplane too. So once you make friends with that, it doesn't like crosswinds. It doesn't like heavy winds, a lot of turbulence and rough air, just because it's very heavy, and it wears you out physically.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, you fly that plane, right? You don't just put it on automatic.
You have to fly it. But back in the day, these things are right next to each other in formation at 30,000 feet. The air's very thin up there. Airplanes do not fly as well. It's just mushy.
Yeah.
And they're up there trying to maintain a formation, and it is a workload. It would be it'd wear me out, and for doing that for 8 hours.
Somebody told me, and there's lore and there's absolute history, and you guys stick with the absolute history. Somebody told me that originally there was on the waist gunners that many times the guys, when they first started flying these planes, would end up, as they were trying to shoot down the enemy, they would just come around 180 degrees and shoot the tail off of their own planes, and so they had to install baffles so you couldn't go flush against the fuselage of the plane. Is that true?
That is true.
Wow.
Actually, the ball turret, the very one on the bottom, is restricted from shooting in the polar arc, so that you can't shoot your props off, that's probably a pretty good thing.
Wow.
And the tail, or the top turret, is restricted from shooting the vertical stabilizer and rudder off, which is also good.
Wow.
It's also restricted from coming down too far and shooting the pilots, which I personally appreciate that pretty well.
They thought of everything.
But the waist gunners could shoot the edge of their stabilizers off for a while, and then they did put a restrictor in there, some sort. But you can imagine an 18-year-old kid in the heat of the battle.
Oh my God.
Your adrenaline's flowing, and these fighters are coming by, and you're just following this thing and single-mindedly trying to shoot it down, and the next thing you know, oops, there's your buddy beside you. You just I don't know if anybody ever did a study as far as how much friendly fire incidents there were, but there had to have been many of those.
Captain,
because there's no way with that formation as tight as they were that they couldn't do that.
Captain Ken Morris is with us, one of the pilots of the B-17 Flying Fortress. You are in Washington County Airport till tomorrow. Do you leave the airport tomorrow?
No, we don't. We've got 4 flights tomorrow.
Oh, good.
At 10 in the morning, yeah. And we'll be here till 5 giving ground tours. The flights, if you don't want to get on a flight, you can come out. Veterans are free to walk through it. And families are $20, $10 a piece for a ticket just to walk through it. It's a piece of history, and we're open till 5. And the airplane physically will go on to Newark, I believe.
Yeah.
Newark area.
Caldwell, New Jersey, Essex County
Caldwell,
Airport.
New Jersey. Thank you. I was glad I called so I could remember where I'm supposed to go. Actually, we're leaving Wednesday, so if they just wanted to come out and look at it, it'll be here till Wednesday, and then we'll take it over to Caldwell, New Jersey.
Oh, good. And so would people call the airport, or would they go to b17.org, or to make arrangements? Do you know?
There's a local number after 5 o'clock they can call if they want to, but they can just come out tomorrow till 5 o'clock and go through it. And there won't be anybody doing ground tours on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Well,
but they can certainly look around and walk around it.
Thanks to you and the EAA Aviation Center from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and you folks put on a really great tour, and seriously, it was an honor to fly with you, because you're such a classy group. I really enjoyed that, and I think anybody who does this will have the same feeling as I had.
Well, Stoney, thank you. It's a pleasure. We are a crew of 6, and we couldn't do it without the other 5 people. It's 2 mechanics and 2 tour coordinators. And we travel at two-week intervals usually. and they're the ones that do all the work, and we get the glory. But
it's well deserved. Captain Ken, thanks for your time. Fly safely, and again, thanks for a great ride.
Hey, Stoney, thank you so much, and enjoyed meeting you.
You and me, you as well. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. There's Captain Ken Morris, just a classy guy, just a classy guy and a fun person, a sense of humor, and a great wealth of knowledge. If you get a chance to do this and you wish to do that, get out to the airport at least to see this B-17 at Washington County Airport. It's a nice drive. It's going to be a beautiful day for that tomorrow, and you'll get some great pictures. Man, that was fun. We're going to take a break. We'll have more as we